From blueprints to bliss, let's get popping with another episode of Planco Playbook. Now, it's been a couple of weeks, folks, and I do apologize for the delay, but we have something incredible in the works for you, and it all starts right here on this undiscovered pathway. This pathway is right here in Bramblewick Hollow, our fantasy area of Everheart Kingdom. Now, this project right here, this project you have seen a little preview if you've been watching our previous videos about Winslow Everheart and his Everheart Kingdom Park. This area right here is where we're developing something brand new. And it all started one evening as Winslow and I were walking through the hollow before it officially opened. He stopped by one of the carved oak doorways we'd installed along the path. It was just a facade, really, of course, but there were no rooms behind it or anything. And he brushed the wood on that doorway with his fingertips like it was an heirloom. And very softly he said, "One day, someone will tug that handle just to see what's behind it. And when they do, I want them to feel a tremor in their heart, like the door almost thought about opening." Now, let's not pretend he didn't have secrets tucked up his sleeves even then. Winslow has always been 3 projects ahead of everyone else, and I promise you, while the cottages and the lanterns and the cobblestone lanes were being shaped, his brain was already halfway beneath the earth, right over here, dreaming up something glowing and enchanted. I once caught him staring at a cluster of geodes on my desk. They were props from a conference display, and he picked one up like it was a prophecy. And he said, "You ever think that in some worlds, crystal caverns don't shine until you go looking in the dark?" I asked if he was talking about metaphorical spelunking or actual infrastructure, and he said, "Yes." And he walked away. Typical Winslow. Now, there was another time he nearly caused a minor incident trying to test what he called atmospheric resonance for the hollow. He snuck into one of our sound stages with a fog machine and hired a harpist right off the internet. And he had a box of bells that he claimed were, in his words, historically significant to elfin metallurgy. Well, he wanted to see how sound would behave, as he put it, behave spiritually in a curved corridor. Well, the harpist quit halfway through when Winslow tried to convince her to play while crouching beneath a papier-mâché moon, and the fog machine set off the fire alarm. And yet, I'll tell you what, that test gave us the acoustic layering idea for the tunnels near the hollow. As the fire department guys were leaving and laughing, Winslow said, "Hey, see that? Even the fire department felt transported." Well, beneath every comedic calamity, there's a vision only Winslow could have had. Fantasy wasn't just play acting to him. It was a blueprint for wonder. Whether guests realize it or not, the paths in Bramblewick Hollow curve in ways that make you slow down, that make you look up and feel something. The bridge near the creek rises ever so slightly, so you feel a pull to the other side, like gravity is in on the secret. The archways frame the sky so perfectly at dusk, you'd swear the stars are timing their entrance cues. And just between us, as his co-conspirator and designated translator of impossible dreams, there are whispers of something stirring behind the scenes, right here. The kind of project Winslow only hints at in offhand remarks and distracted sketches during the budget meetings. He's been spending more time than usual around the stonemason's workshop, his eyes lighting up at any mention of subterranean anything. He'll stroll past piles of timber and paint samples and say things like, "Imagine if light didn't just reflect, but remembered." Then he walks off before anyone can ask what that means. Well, just last week he wandered into my office. He sat down and he said, "Have you ever heard of crystals sing when the world is quiet enough?" I was confused and I said, "Well, no, mostly because I value my sanity." He just smiled and tapped his pencil on the desk like a heartbeat and said, "We should remedy that." Well, you'd think after helping design half this park and surviving his most combustible brainstorms, I'd be unshakable by now. But there's something about the way he's looking at Bramblewick Hollow lately, especially right in this area. Like he knows there's a secret heartbeat under the cobblestones waiting to be revealed. And no, I'm not about to spill what we may or may not be planning, at least not totally. I mean, you can kind of see some of it taking shape. But if you've ever stood in Bramblewick Hollow at twilight and felt the hair on your arms lift just a little, well, you might already sense what it is. Fantasy for Winslow has never been about pretending. It's been about revealing what's possible when you stop treating imagination like a guest and start treating it like a co-architect. And as you can see, we're building here layer on layer, and later on, lantern by lantern. And you can feel it all gathering as you watch. There'll be a coziness of nostalgia in this whole area, the spark of the unexpected right here in our new attraction. Just a hint of mystery right at the edges of this queue area, kind of like breath on a mirror. Well, here we took some time to really put this design together. We're using what's called forced perspective. Smaller, lighter rocks that go toward the back, bigger, darker rocks toward the front. And what that does is it makes it look like things are fading off into the distance. It adds texture, shape, and just a little bit of magic to this area. And you're seeing little peaks over the top where you can see where the coaster is going to go in that big excavated area that we've talked about in previous videos. And you can see where the coaster station's going to go, and that will kind of give you an idea of what's in store right here in this new attraction in Bramblewick Hollow. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the story of Winslow Everheart and myself, you can always check out our video playlist and see what it is that we're doing and how this all came about, how Everheart Kingdom became a reality starting from childhood dreams when Winslow was living with his grandmother at a very young age. And the things that brought him here, the things that brought that spark of imagination and made Winslow who he is today, and what made him just a little bit odd sometimes. Now, we have additional plans for things that will go in this area, and we won't hint at those just yet. But let's say that those rocks right there that will be the top of the attraction will play a big part. And that big hollowed out area where the new coaster will go will also play a part. The hills that surround this area in Bramblewick Hollow will play a part as well. And you can see our teacup ride in the back. That'll be visible from our new thing that we have coming in here, our new attraction. And if you've seen our previous videos, you'll see where we had a bridge crossing over a small pond, and there's a cottage nearby and some little shops also right near the entrance of Bramblewick Hollow, and we'll be adding to that too. And this next attraction that you'll see after this attraction is built, well, I think that's going to be quite a surprise. Even Winslow was quite impressed with his imagination on that one. But here, we are just taking a look at the queue area. This is where the queue will go right through the hills, and you can see we've got some wood structure going in here, and you're going to transition from a cave into a structure where you'll see some magical things happening before you even board the coaster. So let's take a minute and just watch this build. So as you can see, we're putting a little bit of separation between our indoor part of the queue and what will later on be the exit, which currently you can see at the top of the screen. That'll take a whole different pathway into another thing that we're going to build, another area, another section of this area that we're going to build, and you'll see that in a future video. The music that you're hearing is all music that I've put together specifically for Winslow and Everheart Kingdom. Every area has its own themed music, and we are eventually going to make that all available to you, the viewer, our guests. And so if you're interested and you would like to eventually have some of this music, just let us know in the comments below, and we'll make sure that in future videos you'll be able to get those. So in order to not miss out, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this video with others so that they can also share the magic of Everheart Kingdom. And oh, don't forget to hit that bell notification as well so you don't miss any videos as we put them out. We're hoping to get on a much more regular upload schedule to share these designs and our build and the story of Winslow and myself, and we just have a lot going on right now, so that's why it's taken a little bit longer than usual to get these designs out to you, or these videos out to you. But as you can see, we're doing our best to make sure that we keep up as often as possible. Now, you know, if I had a nickel for every time Winslow Everheart got lost in a daydream while designing attractions and areas of the park like this, I probably could have funded half this park before we even poured concrete. The guy always treated reality like it was more like a suggestion, nice to acknowledge, but even nicer to ignore when imagination calls. And that's why you see we have so many crazy designs in our park and so many things that maybe they don't make sense while you're watching, but they'll definitely make sense later. And, you know, nowhere is more clear about all of this than what you see in this area and Winslow's love for anything even remotely magical. Now, a lot of people, they think that Bramblewick Hollow, our fantasy area, started when we broke ground on the cottages, the lantern-lit lanes, the mushroom-topped tea stands, but that's not true. Bramblewick Hollow was actually born the day that 10-year-old Winslow sat right across from his grandmother on the living room rug, and he was watching cartoons about knights and dragons and enchanted forests on a television the size of a boulder, and back then probably just as heavy. They didn't have flat screens back then. The glow from the screen lit his face, and I'm pretty sure that if the TV had been enchanted and demanded an oath of secrecy, Winslow would have signed it with a crayon. Now, he used to tell me how he'd stand outside in the Gloucestershire fog, where his grandmother lived in Gloucestershire, in the fog, pretending that the hedgerows were watchful guardians and that the neighbor's goat was a cursed prince. That same imagination followed him straight into adulthood like it was a persistent raccoon that won't leave your yard. He would pitch ideas late at night in the blueprint room, and he would have the same excitement most people reserve for lottery wins or surprise puppies at Christmas. Well, as his lead designer, I learned a long time ago that my job wasn't to tame that imagination. It was to build infrastructure sturdy enough to survive it. And I remember one night back in the early concept phase of the park, long before Bramblewick Hollow had a name or had the ground broken, Winslow had burst into my office like he'd been chased there by inspiration itself. His hair was windswept and his coat was half-buttoned, and he was holding a napkin full of scribbles that looked like a wizard got into an espresso machine. He slapped the drawing onto my drafting table and he said, "Picture this, a land where every lantern flickers with secrets, where the stones might hum when no one's listening, where the trees lean in like they've got gossip." I glanced at the napkin, which had a doodle that looked like a potato wearing a crown and maybe a bridge shaped like a teapot, and I said, So, that's great. Is the potato the mayor? And he looked at me and he said, that's obviously a gnome king. Well, naturally. But here's the thing about Winslow. He never loved fantasy because of glittering castles or grand wizard wardrobes. Though he once did try on a cape before a board meeting and I had to pretend not to see it. He loved fantasy because it made the impossible feel neighborly. It took dreams, dressed them in moss and moonlight, and invited you in for tea. Now that spark, that bit of him that still believed doors could open into secret worlds if you tugged the right book on the right shelf, well, that's what shaped every inch of Bramblewick Hollow. Even when we hadn't settled on the cottages or the twisting lanes. He used to talk about it as if it already existed, just waiting for us to stumble into it. One night, while we were elbow deep in concept art, he paused, twirled his pencil, and said, "Do you think stones remember things?" I said, "It depends. Are we talking geology or emotional baggage?" He grinned, and he said, "Because if they do, I want guests to feel it. I want them to step into this place and think the world remembers magic better than they do. I want them to have a place where this becomes reality." Well, it was this sort of thing that made our planning sessions for this very attraction feel less like design work and more like seance meeting where the ghosts wore waistcoats and hummed lullabies. But of course, no Winslow tale is complete without at least one moment of craziness. There was a time, I swear on every structural beam in the park, when he attempted to recreate what he called the forest of memory he kept describing. And he dragged me out to one of the undeveloped lots, right over here, where we're building. And he had a box of string lights, a bag of potting soil, and a cluster of saplings that he'd labeled the Elders. The man was wearing knee-high boots and a tweed jacket like he was about to tame a mythological creature. He waved his arms dramatically and said, "Watch this." He plugged the string lights into a generator, only for the entire line to flash once, spark, and go completely dark. The generator then coughed like it had seen things and refused to continue running. Well, after he tried to get it restarted, he couldn't. He was still undeterred. And he tugged one of the saplings into place, only for the roots to come loose, and the entire thing toppled over him. By the time I fished him out of the future forest-turned-compost puddle, he had bark in his hair and he was muttering something about the spirits not being ready. Well, naturally, that brilliant accident later became the inspiration for the lanterns that we hung along this area's pathways that you'll eventually see. And of course, that was minus the concussions and renegade tree roots. But all the while, the fantasy stayed strong in him. Nostalgia only ran deeper. And he used to tell me that Bramblewick Hollow was his way of giving guests the childhood he had in flashes and daydreams, the kind you only catch in the corner of your memory when the light hits just right. He said fantasy wasn't an escape from reality. It was how reality learns to dream again. So he built with that in mind. Stone archways that are shaped like memories of bridges, mushrooms that look a little too pleased with themselves, and windows that always seem to have a warm glow, even when there's no one home. Well, this is the Enchanted Caverns, where all of these magical things can come to life. This is part of Winslow's dream, and we've kind of hinted a little bit here in our story today as to what's going to happen in this magical set of caverns. So we hope that you are going to come back and see us again as we continue to build this in the future. We're going to show you a little bit more here as we go along, but don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, so that we can see you again and you don't miss anything, as we have more videos on this very attraction coming soon and along the rest of the area of Bramblewick Hollow. You can see here we were pretty picky about what we did and didn't put here into our landscape, and we just wanted to give it that nice earthy, natural feel, as if this place had been here for centuries. Kind of like Gloucestershire, where Winslow grew up with his grandmother. And it would kind of have that feeling that we've described in the Winslow stories about this entire area and his childhood growing up, watching those cartoons with knights and dragons, and dreaming of these things that you'll see in this very area. Everything here is purposeful. Every bit of landscaping, every rock, every tree, every bush, every flower, every crystal that you see on the outside there, and the colors, and the way the sign is placed, and the rocks up above, and where everything is going to go. It's all here for a reason. So when you're designing your parks, make sure that you have a reason for everything, that you're not just randomly placing things everywhere. This is how you become a designer in your parks. This is how you make your parks stand out and become something more than just your standard park. This is where you can proudly put your things up into the workshop as a blueprint and allow other people to use them. Now, many of our works are in the workshop as blueprints, and you're free to take those, of course. There are share codes in the description of this video where you can get those items. Feel free to use them, and please make sure to let us know in our comments section where you're using them, and we'll go check out your videos if you have them. And if you have anything you would like to share, put your share codes in the comments section as well, so other people can find them and use them. So you can see here, we've got these rocks going into place, and a little pond that kind of goes in this area, and a walkway that's going to go over the top of that toward our exit to our attraction here. And the reason being is we're going to have something else back here in the back corner where the exit and this pathway come together around this big oak tree. So watch this build for a moment and you'll kind of see where we're going to eventually go with this. So here we decided to add another water feature. Water features can be really important in theme parks, as well as the landscape and the rolling hills and all the different shapes that you see. Texture is very, very important. So when designing your theme parks, some of the lessons you may want to take from me, if you wish, are add a lot of texture. Make sure your paths aren't just flat. Add a little bit of rolling hills and other elements to your landscaping that just make the terrain more interesting than flat ground. Those things will really be really important to your park. If you learn how to terraform, your guests will enjoy it far more, and it makes it much more visually appealing, of course. So little waterfalls here and there, little water features and rock features, plants and trees. You want them to have a purpose, a design, something that makes people want to look at it and say, wow, look at that. And it just makes them feel at home. And you just want it to feel comfortable, almost like it's a dream. So let your imagination go wild when you're thinking of things like this and you're building areas of your park out. Always use your colors together. We've talked a little bit about this in the past. Complementary colors, contrasting colors, secondary, tertiary. So basically, if I was to describe it to you, your complementary colors are colors that go very well together. Your main complementary colors are red and green, blue and orange, and yellow and purple. When you put those colors next to each other, they tend to stand out and just look good together. You can also do what are called monochromatic colors, where you have lots of colors that are very much the same, like greens and yellows, like you see there under that tree. And you can see we're contrasting it a little bit with some purples. Make sure that you're using your terrain tools and adding a lot of texture. So here's a good look at it during the day. This is where the Enchanted Caverns is going to take shape. And here it is at night with the glowing crystals that will welcome you into the cavern, into the queue area. So now we're going to add some light, and I've slowed the video down just to kind of show you what I mean by colors that just go together. So here you can see all the bright colorful colors of the crystals up above, and down here we're going to add what would be like a moonlight color. So we're going to make this a nice blue color down here in just a moment once we get it placed where we want it. And by placing the lights down low and having them graze across the rocks, you can see that it adds texture, which is very, very important. You want to add lots and lots of texture in your park just to make things stand out a little bit more and to make it a little more magical. And as you can see there, I accidentally moved that light, but that's okay. We'll place this one and then we'll go ahead and put one back where we were. But as you can see, we're just highlighting certain areas to add texture, moving lights around just to get a nice soft glow on things. And we'll keep with that blue theme. And the blue theme is in contrast to that bright entrance area that's lit up by those crystals. A nice soft dark blue light, like a royal blue, that goes down here away from the entrance. It's still kind of, or right near the entrance, and it still kind of lights up that entrance area, but highlights where we want people to go. Always put the brightest lights where you want people's eyes to look. Our eyes naturally look toward the brightest areas. And this is something I had to teach Winslow over time because he wanted to just kind of place lights everywhere. But here you can see your eyes go naturally toward that big bright area, and the darker lights surrounding just kind of add that glow and that texture that make the whole area of this queue feel more welcoming. And as you can see, it just makes everything look nice. That soft blue glow down below and the brighter glow right above the entrance with a little bit softer glow from the crystals surrounding. So up here, we're going to light up the peaks just a little bit, just enough to give them some light and some interest, and add a little more texture as always. I know I use the word texture a lot, but that's exactly what it is you can really see the shapes of the rocks, and it really just kind of highlights certain parts of them, leaving the rest in shadow. It adds a magical feel to our magical area. So here, we're going to go a little bit monochromatic. At first I was going to go with a nice warm color up there, but it just didn't seem right. So I brought it back down a little bit to make it more of a monochromatic color as opposed to complementary. So monochromatic, once again, meaning that it's a color similar to the color you're already using. Complementary colors being the opposite on the color wheel. So here we are, we're adding some nice kind of a purple color, and it just kind of reflects what's down below and adds to the magic of this area here. This will also highlight the peaks so that they can be seen from a little bit further back on our pathway as well, and they'll just kind of stand out and draw people's attention and make them come this way. One of the things when designing theme parks is always to find a way to draw people from one area to another. So when someone looks down a path, if they don't see anything interesting down that path, they may just skip it or maybe not explore it right away. So always find a way to point people in the direction that you want them to go, using light, texture, or some kind of thing that stands up and says, hey, look over here. I'm an enchanted cavern. So here's what it looks like at night. You can kind of get a good feel for what it looks like and how that's going to draw guests in from a little bit of a distance. they'll be able to see the glow of these spires up on top, which is part of the design. So always try to draw people in with things. Kind of like when you go to a Disney theme park and you first come into the entrance and you see the shops that are lining the streets on both sides, and down at the end you see a castle. Well, the castle draws you in, and the stores, the shops on the sides of you, the left and right side, kind of make you get a tunnel vision toward that castle that draws you forward. Well, that's kind of what you do anytime you're designing a theme park. Another thing you can do while designing your parks, as you can see here, and I may have mentioned this earlier, is make your landscape a little more varied. Don't always have it be flat. So as you can see here, our queue area goes downward into the cave. Our paths to the left and right go upward and around a corner, and the path into this area from the center of Bramblewick Hollow comes downward in a nice gentle slope. So those are the things that you want to keep in mind. Here I experimented with a little bit of color, trying to come to what color would look best against this area, and I was kind of tending toward that complementary color of orange to warm up that tree there and make it stand out against that blue right behind it. And it looked really great, so that's what I went with. And then, of course, just like anything else, you reflect it somewhere else. And that's where it goes to the other side, and it's kind of a reflection from one side to the other. And it gives it a little bit of symmetry. So these are all things that you might want to think about when you're designing your parks. Symmetry, color, reflection, complementary, contrasting, and monochromatic. And just bring those things together. And those things are what make a theme park beautiful. So up here we add a little bit of warm light as a reflection from that tree over there. And I don't remember if we stayed with the warm light or if we went with a more monochromatic here, but I'm pretty sure we stayed with the warmer light back here to complement everything else that we had out front and down below. Yeah, it looks like we stayed with the warmer light here. And so we'll just highlight these and again add a little bit of texture, let the rock kind of show its different shapes and things here. And we just light those up from underneath and just graze the rock just so it kind of shows off the shape and the different form. And there you go, a nice magical glow up there. And again, this spire back here, which sits further back. And we'll light that up and make it a little bit more dim than the ones up front. And it just makes it look like it's further in the distance. So pretty soon, you're going to see the video where we actually build out this attraction and show you the secrets of this cavern, the Enchanted Cavern. So make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you give the video a like if you would like to. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you see our next videos. We're doing our best to upload as often as possible. Things have been a little bit busy, but we'll do our best, I promise. And you'll see this attraction come to life. You can see our coaster station back there and the big excavated area where our coaster will eventually live. And these rocks on top will take part of another attraction coming soon. So as we get this lighting into place, I just want to remind you of something. The words of Winslow Everheart, as I tell you in every video. Build bigger, build bolder, and may your dreams become your reality. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Plan Co Playbook.